Assalamu alaikum, hello, and welcome to the Voices of Sustainability virtual fireside chat series by the Zayed Sustainability Prize. My name is Sally Mousa, international presenter and speaker, and I'm excited to be your host for this special episode of Voices of Sustainability on the occasion of International Women's Day, as we highlight the important contributions of women to climate action. The Zayed Sustainability Prize was established in 2008 as the United Arab Emirates Pioneering Global Award for recognizing organizations and global high schools for their sustainable, innovative, and humanitarian solutions. Today, the prize counts 15 years of global impact with over 378 million people around the world benefiting from its winner solutions across the categories of health, food, energy, water, and global high schools. In today's episode, we're delving into the topic of embracing equity, women's role in accelerating sustainable development. But first, I'd like to introduce our esteemed guest speakers. Dr. Maria Neira, Assistant Director General of the Universal Health Coverage and Healthier Populations, and Director of the Department of Environment, Climate Change and Health of the World Health Organization. She is joined by Jacqueline Novogratz, CEO of Acumen. We've invited them here today on the occasion of International Women's Day, celebrated every year on the 8th of March. And through this year's theme of embracing equity, we're amplifying the message that collective action, from grassroots action to wide-scale momentum, is needed to create a fair, equal, and sustainable world. Our conversation today will focus on how women can be empowered to take a leading role in climate action in alignment with meeting multiple UN Sustainable Development Goals. Ladies, welcome to you both and happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. Very happy to be here. Thanks.
And salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Yes.
Wonderful to have you both. Now, Dr. Maria, if I can start with you, based on the fact that women experience motherhood, they are primary caregivers to children. In many places, they're responsible for the well-being of the entire family and are also on the receiving end of indoor air pollution due to the use of traditional biomass for cooking. It's safe to say that women are the most important stakeholder in healthcare. And so given that, would you agree that women should have the strongest voice when it comes to healthcare delivery and the design of healthcare systems?
Thank you, Sally, and yes to what you have said. Let me maybe start by the end. One of the most powerful voices I've been hearing for the last years is the voice of the moms of the kids with asthma, for instance. You will see whenever the mothers, they realize that this issue of air pollution is very much linked to the health of their children or their family. Believe me, that moment is an incredible one because those women will start to really understand the connection, the linkages, and then fight for it. And then promote these standards on air quality, making sure that the quality of the air that their children will be breathed will be better. And of course, the moment they are empowered to do that, they can move mountains. For me, one of the critical moments on the fighting against air pollution was the moment I realized that Moms for Clean Air or other associations were taking power, because that moment was magic. When a mother is in charge of something, she will never give up. She will move mountains, and of course, she will not stop until she will be better protecting the health of the children. So that moment was magic and irreversible in our fight against air pollution.
It truly is. I mean, it speaks to the power of motherhood, that we will do anything, you know, for our children, for the future generations as well. And so what role then can women play in promoting sustainable health systems and practices, and how can we empower them to do that?
There are many ways, certainly information, awareness. As I say, for me, health can play an incredible role because the moment you connect the sustainability to the world of health, and you explain that, definitely the movement generated among women, that the way they will mobilize others, the way they will put pressure on their politicians will be definitely very, very important. So information, awareness raising, using the health argument to mobilize more, I think we will be very important. Women, we tend to be very pragmatic. I mean, at least the women I am working and living with, they tend to be very pragmatic and very positive. So if they see that this discourse around sustainability is something very practical, it's not just about, in many years from now, the planet will be better, or polar bears will be protected, or the glaciers will not be melting. But the moment they understand that this is about protecting the health, protecting their daily life, creating better environments for themselves, they will take the power. And definitely we need to help them, raising more awareness, creating opportunities for economy as well. There are so many economic benefits that can be created from this green sustainable development. I think is all about creating our own networks, talking, passing the messages, and creating the motivation for all of this to take over. In that moment, we will be, as I say, irreversible.
I love that you talk about, all of these different opportunities that there are. And you mentioned economy, which is where I'd love to bring you in, Jacqueline, because, despite efforts and greater awareness in recent years to reduce gender disparities, it's estimated that worldwide, a $300 billion gap in financing exists for formal women-owned small businesses. And more than 70% of women-owned small and medium enterprises have either inadequate or no access to finance. So why is improving access to finance for women such a tough nut to crack? And what role do impact investment funds play in promoting gender equality and empowering women, particularly in key areas such as sustainable livelihoods and climate action?
Thanks, Sally and Maria. It's really an honor to listen to you speak, and hopefully I'll be able to make some connections as well. You're right, Sally. The problem is immense. Nearly 1 billion women locally lack access to financial products and services. And data does show that investing in women, both as clients and as talent, leads to stronger institutions, better returns. And the reason it's such a tough nut to crack is twofold. Like most of our social problems, the systems and individual behavior. At the systemic level, most of the leaders of our investment funds stereotypically are men, and they tend to look for larger deal sizes and entrepreneurs who look and speak like themselves. Women also lack the deep networks that their male counterparts might have, though happily, after being in this work for almost 40 years, I'm really seeing that change. On the individual level, we see cultural expectations. In Pakistan, for example, 30% of all female doctors, when they marry, stop practicing. But this isn't stopping that new generation from accessing finance, and you start to see what's possible when they do. An Acumen fellow, Sarah Kuram, had postpartum depression after delivering her first child, in part because the expectation was that she too would stop practicing. But essentially, to save herself, she set up a company, a for-profit company, to do telemedicine so that she could stay home but have access to poor rural women clients across the country. And saw that there were many other doctors that wanted to do that as well. During the pandemic, of course, all of the private clinics in Pakistan were shut down. And so Sarah pivoted very quickly, built an app, offered it free, welcomed in Pakistani doctors from the country and endorsed that. And she became the first woman to raise $1 million in equity for her company, has reached 1.8 million very low-income rural women who wouldn't otherwise have quality access to healthcare, has brought 1,000 women onto the platform, and has changed healthcare policy. That's the power of investing in women who, as Maria said, understand the problem and build from there. But when we think about gender investing from Acumen's perspective as an impact investor, we think not just about women entrepreneurs, but also those companies that do more to serve women as clients and employees. We're part of the Gender Smart Enterprise Assistance Research Coalition, which I call GSearch, which is 6 different investors, impact investors that are committed to gender equity. And through that, we've really seen, again, that it's one thing to make investments in women entrepreneurs, and then the importance of capability building, extending the social capital, our networks, so that we can help those entrepreneurs achieve very, very positive social and economic impacts. We're seeing that people like products and services that are delivered by women-owned companies. And we're seeing that the social outcomes can improve not only skills and knowledge and self-confidence, but better mental health, higher income. It really does impact the entrepreneur and the people in it. I want to finally say that there are so many companies today that are starting with solving a problem that is almost specifically a women's problem. Even companies started by men, and those are really important as well, because by solving that problem, jobs that turn into careers are created while problems are being solved. Maria mentioned indoor cooking and cook stoves, of course, that are fueled with wood, charcoal, kerosene, are the major culprit of indoor smoke, which is the cause for 36% of respiratory disease. We invested in a company called Burn Cook Stoves a number of years ago, and it creates smokeless cook stoves that reduce wood consumption by 50%. So really has made a dent in deforestation, has significantly improved women's health, has created hundreds of manufacturing jobs for women, as well as women who serve as agents, and already has sold more than 1 million cook stoves. Now working with carbon markets to reduce the price of those cook stoves from $40 to $8 to enable more women to get access to it. So it's not just about the entrepreneur, but it's about smart investing, first and foremost, to solve a social, economic, environmental problem in ways that are very conscious and deliberate about including women from an equity perspective, and then hold ourselves to account for actually measuring the impact that is achieved or is not achieved.
It's so important what you talk about there, Jacqueline. The knock-on effect is huge. You know, everything from actually providing, you know, those products to empower women, you know, whether it's be in the home and all the way up until, you know, seeing actual investors, venture capitalists who are there to take that investment, make that investment into women and to empower more women. All of that has an impact. It has a huge ripple effect. So it's truly extraordinary. I love everything that you mentioned there. And so if I can come back to you, Dr. Maria, how can healthcare organizations and institutions promote gender equality and empower women in leadership positions within the industry to drive sustainability and health initiatives?
I think probably we have a responsibility at the individual level. I mean, I'm sure that Jacqueline, yourself, Sally, or myself on a daily life, we are surrounded by other women. I try to do the best of me on the coaching, on something that Jacqueline was saying before, on women abandoning their practicing career, because I think if we want to have a revolution to empower women, the empowerment starts with ourselves. So we need to be convinced that we can be playing that equal role in society and stop with certain cultural or uncultural, I will call it, issues like if you are a good professional by default, you need to be a horrible mother and a horrible, maintaining a house and keeping that's wrong. I mean, I don't see any reason why we cannot be everything. And we don't need to abandon our professional work if we want to be a nice and good, fantastic mother and keeping a family together. So this started with ourselves. We need to be convinced ourselves and believe that. And it's like when you have a man promoted to a high level position, nobody will ask him, how many children do you have? How can you manage your work and your children? While if you are promoted to a high position and you are a woman, say, how will you manage this with your children? So why you don't ask that to my husband as well? Why? So we need to start ourselves with more solidarity and stopping with this nonsense. Going back to the role of the healthcare facilities, healthcare professionals and the global health architecture, I think we can do two huge things. One is access to safe fuels at the household level. This is a kind of human right. It's nothing special for a woman. It shouldn't be. It's something normal for a society. I mean, the right to have, when I wake up in the morning, I do this and I have the possibility to prepare a nice coffee or heat water for tea or cooking, just by doing this click. For many of the women, this click represents 4 hours a day because they need to collect the wood, they need to walk, they need to prepare the fire, and they need to be in front of the cooking thing to inhale. And who says that this is a role for us? Who say it? Where is this written? So it's not something special for us. It's something for the society. There is no reason in many parts of the world why we don't have access to renewable sources of energy, why Africa is not full of photovoltaic solar panels that will help the healthcare facilities and provide better services, and then having reliable, safe, and clean sources of energy at the household level. That will allow those girls to go to school. 4 hours a day cooking or in front of this cooking process will certainly not give you time to go to school. Similar for water. The moment you relieve that horrible burden to the girls at the moment on collecting water, collecting, of course, preparing food, and preparing a fire or something to heat or lighten in the house, you are already creating a massive obstacles for this development and gender. So it's something extremely pragmatic and a question of human rights, starting by the basics. And of course, many other things that we can do by making sure that women will have access to a proper healthcare facility. Proper means with the minimum basic services to protect their health and making sure that she will have the assistance that she needs, and going to school, and then obviously having all the information and what will allow her to have a healthy life and protecting the life of others. So this sustainability goes with the classic basic interventions around you, that more we explain it with a good narrative, pragmatic, and a question of a society, whole a society should develop the better, with all the economic benefits, green jobs, and of course the protection of our health that this will be representing. And I think women will take it.
Oh, wow. I mean, there is so much right there. Just, when you're talking about things like it's a basic human right, for girls, for women to be able to not have to go out there. It's incredible for us to think about that for a second, that you have to go out for 4 hours just to collect wood and to collect the fuel just to be able to cook for the family. Like, that's just incredible to think about that. You're absolutely right. These things should be there. We should be absolutely actively fighting for that. And on the other side, as Jacqueline also highlighted, culture plays such a critical role. And I feel like each and every single one of us, as parents, as mothers, we can break that cycle. We can break that bias that happens where we expect girls to be at home and to be only mothers and to serve. And if we're not doing that, you know, we're being judged for it. And you're absolutely right. So many things there to tap into that were absolutely critical. And Jacqueline, if I can come back to you now and diving deeper into the discussion on women in climate action and taking those points from Dr. Maria, how important is it to bridge that finance gap for women and have them on an equal footing to tackle the present and future climate challenges? And how can existing barriers be removed?
Oh my goodness. Well, first, both of you, Sally, I can't reinforce what you say more, that it's women who hold the traditions often and pass them on. And so it is also to all of us to break the pattern. And that can't be emphasized enough. And Dr. Maria, there's so much that we clearly need to do together. This is the first time that we've actually interacted, but our work is so complementary in the worldview. And I think it's because there is a convergence in the world. Climate financing for women is critical. Women and children, as you said, as Dr. Maria said, are the most vulnerable. And we hear so much talk, and we will hear a lot more of it at COP in December, that we need a green transition. But a green transition must also be a just transition. And we cannot separate economic and development from that climate crisis, nor from social development. That is incumbent. And yet so often when you hear the big funders, the country leaders, we often talk in silos: climate financing, poverty financing. It is all one in a piece, and climate justice has to be at the heart of it. And women and children sit at the heart of climate justice. I worry sometimes that all the money for climate is going to large-scale carbon mitigation, which is critical for the world. We need it, but it isn't sufficient. We have had access to light and electricity since Thomas Edison invented the light bulb more than 150 years ago, and yet we still have 800 million people on the planet with no access to light and electricity. And now we have the means, the technologies that we can deliver that light and electricity in ways that people can afford, that can create jobs, that can create real opportunities and set the basis for every nation's and history's economic development. And so we have to talk with urgency, but more importantly, we truly have to act. We've been working in solar, so I was very excited to hear Dr. Maria reference it. For 16 years now, when we made one of the very first impact investments in a tiny company called D-Light, which at the time had a $30 solar lantern and a big dream that they would eradicate kerosene, and indoor hurricane lanterns, essentially. We've since invested in about 40 companies, and those companies have brought clean light and electricity to over 230 million people around the world, particularly in Africa. Now we're at a situation, if you look at Africa, and Dr. Maria also referenced the importance of Africa, where nearly 50% of the continent still lives without electricity. If you look at the people without it, 85% live in 22 sub-Saharan African countries. Some of those countries like South Sudan have a 2% electrification rate. Some 4, 9. None have more than a 48% electrification rate. And so what we're focused on is not simply investing and hoping that things will be different, but rather understanding the problem. Where does capability need to be built? Where is subsidy required for the nearly 400 million Africans who live fully under the poverty line? Not forever subsidy, but a subsidy that's once, so that they can get access to the equipment that allows them then to pay. And we know they can do it from 15 years of experience to keep that electricity going in a sustainable way. And so these are the ways we need to start to think about putting the right capital together with, importantly, the right character to solve some of the biggest problems that we have. And this problem, SDG 7, universal electrification, we specifically focus on the very poor. And as really starts with women, children, capability inside that, though, I can say now, having seen 230 million people with electricity, is infinite. There's almost no better metaphor for releasing energy than thinking about every rooftop in Africa as its own generator that is dependent on an ever renewing energy resource called the sun.
Absolutely, absolutely incredible right there. Everything that you've highlighted, Jacqueline. And like you say, you cannot have climate justice without social justice, without economic justice. You know, all of these things are critical. They underpin the very problems that we do see in climate. And I think you're absolutely right. And also, Dr. Maria, you know, it's about listening to women first and foremost. Often research, whether it be into health, whether it be, you know, into other areas as well, just assumes it's done on men, but it assumes that it includes women as well. Women have completely different problems. Women have completely different needs and issues and ways that they are being affected. And we need to listen to that. We need to honor that and to come up with the solutions that are going to be able to, you know, as you say, and I love that metaphor, to really light up the world. And this is what it's about as well. And so before we wrap up this incredible session, and I really, you know, would love to listen to more, but we do have to wrap it up. And so I'm going to ask each of you to share one word on how you would describe the future of sustainability. If I could start with you, Dr. Maria.
I will put a greener and healthy sustainability future. It has to be womanized, energized, and green development. I'm sure that if we put a woman there, it will be a very nice one. We are already creating a network, you see it? So I see that this network will produce great results. So let's go for that, and a green and healthy and common sense transition. That is what we all needed, and women will be definitely not only part, but probably even leading it.
Wonderful. Womanized, Jacqueline.
Well, since Dr. Maria broke the rules, and I love that women who make waves break rules, I'll have one word and one phrase. My word is urgent, and my phrase is, it will take all of us.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. The message is very clear, because we can only effectively tackle climate change with real impact if we are empowering women at every level to be heard and to be part of the solution. And I want to thank you both so much, Jacqueline and Dr. Maria, for this incredible discussion, your incredible insights, and we look forward to more of it here as well. So thank you both.
Thank you. What a privilege.
Thank you.
Thank you. I enjoy it.
Happy International Women's Day, everyone.
Lovely
Yes.
day. Yes. Ciao.
And thank you, of course, to everybody who's tuning in to our discussion today, and happy International Women's Day to you as well. Don't forget, if you'd like to watch this session in full, you can find it and other episodes of Voices of Sustainability at the Zayed Sustainability Prize's YouTube channel. I'm Sally Mousa. See you next time.